My confession is about how I got a Tokoloshe from this guy who was building a house. That guy, he was from Zimbabwe. What happened is, it was in 2013. My father had died. So when he died, he left me his RDP house. I am from Pretoria. So after my father had died, I spoke with some Zimbabwean guys. The guy, he said he could build some back rooms for me. Then I thought for me it was going to be an extra income, because at that time I was not working very well. I was only working as casual at Mr. Price. So after I spoke with those Zimbabwean guys, they started to dig the foundation, and then they started to build. So most of the times I would sit there listening to them speak as they were working on those back rooms. So one day I heard them, they were talking about Tokoloshe. I could not hear properly what they were talking about because they were speaking in their Zimbabwean language. That's when I approached them and I asked them, I said, what are you talking about? What is this Tokoloshe that you are talking about? That's when they told me that in their home country, there is this Tokoloshe which can give you money. So at that time, I was struggling. Then I asked them, how can I get this Tokoloshe? And they told me that if I wanted, they can give me directions. And if I had some money, one of the guys, he said he can go with me to his home country. So at that time, I had never left South Africa, and I had never left even my home province. So I went and applied for a passport. After I had applied for a passport, it came out. Then I told my Zimbabwean friend, I told him that my papers are okay. That's when we went to their buses in Joburg, and we got a bus. Then we went on the bus from Joburg. We arrived at Musina border post, and we got our papers sorted out. Then we went into Zimbabwe. So the guy, he told me that you will be going with me to a place in Zimbabwe. It's deep in the rural areas. It's called Chipinga. That is the place that they went with me. We got there, and when we arrived at that village, it was very scary. Because we arrived there, it was already dark. You could not see where you were going. And at that place, it's a lot of mountains. So no car can reach that place. I was so afraid. I told myself, this place is where I am going to die. Then I started to regret, why did I go with this guy to another country? I was asking myself, why did I left my country? Because I was remembering that in my own country, at least I had a roof over my head. So when we arrived at the village, they told us that we need to take off our shoes. After we had taken off our shoes, they said you are not allowed to enter that village with your shoes on. So we gave another man who was at the gate, at the entrance of the village, we gave him our shoes. And I was afraid because this brother of mine, he told me that that place, they have a lot of snakes like black mambas and pythons. So I was afraid, but he told me, don't worry too much, everything can be fine. So when we arrived, another old man, he greeted us. He was speaking with the Zimbabwean language. I could not understand. And my friend told him that I was from South Africa. So when they heard that I was coming from South Africa, a lot of people, they came to me and they were asking for money, but I told them that I didn't have any money on me. So early in the next morning, that old man, he called us. When he called us, he said I must enter. There was a room that was like a hut. I entered that room. When I went into that room, there was a boiling drum of water. It was like a big drum of it. It had boiling water. Then he started to put some medicine on my body. After he had put that medicine on my body, and he said I was supposed to enter that drum, I began to cry because I thought these guys, they were going to cook me alive. But he said I should not be afraid. He wanted to show me all of the Zimbabwean powers. He was saying that he is the most powerful witch doctor in that country. So, but still I was refusing. I said, I don't want to do this. I want to go back to my country. But he said, with all that I have seen, he cannot allow me to go back. So they gave me, he mixed something. It was like a potion. He mixed it with water. And he said, you must drink this so that you can be strong, so that your heart can be strong. After I drank that mixed herbal potion, I felt that I was not afraid of anything. I thought I can even eat someone alive. That's when I entered the pot. After I entered the pot, the water was not even burning me. I could see that the water was boiling, but it was not burning me. I don't know why, because the fire was so big. Then after some hours, that old man, he came and he said, now I have fortified you. When you go back to your country, no one can harm you. After he had done that, he asked me, how much do I have? My friend had already told me that when we get there, I must have 500 rands in cash. So I took out those 500 rands and then I put it on the floor. Then that man, he took that money with his walking stick and he put it in another. It was like a plate but made of wood. After he had done that, that money that I had put in there, it vanished. And he said, you can go back to your country. From now on, when you arrive, you will start to see me. You will start to see money in your room. So I could not believe it, because me, I just said, these people, they've done their magic. They've robbed me of my money. So when I was coming from Zimbabwe, I was very angry, thinking that I wasted all of my money and I've risked my life. But when I arrived back in Pretoria, the first night, I started to have dreams. Like I would be dreaming of very short people. They were short boys that I would dream of. So these people, they began to appear. Sometimes when I'm walking, I could see those short boys walking next to me. Then after about a month, I woke up in my room. There was a Changani bag. That Changani bag, when I opened it, it had money in it, but there was a little stick, a very small stick on top of that money. I asked that brother who had taken me to his home country, and I said, I have seen money in my house. What am I supposed to do with that money? He said, you can use it. I said, do you want half of that money? He said, no, I don't want that money. Spend it on your own. So I began to spend that money. I began to go to the malls. I will be buying very fancy clothes and everything. And I also went and deposited some of that money into a bank. Then I applied for a loan, and I got a car, and I was driving a very good car. After about, it was maybe in 20 2017, my wife, we had a child, but that child, he became very sick. When that child became very sick, I began also to have dreams of those small men, those small boys, and they were saying that the time has come, we now want blood. So I didn't know what they were talking about. I began to look for that man who had taken me to his country to take these Tokoloshes, to ask him. I found him that now he was staying in Joburg. So I spoke with him. I told him, I'm having these dreams. These Tokoloshes, they are saying that now they want blood. I don't know what to do. And he told me that he was going to go with me back to that old man. But from there on, when I went to the place where he was staying, I never found him. And his phone number, it was always going to voicemail. So after about another year, my child, he just died. We just found out he had died. Then 2 years later, I began to have another dream again. Those small boys, they were coming to me and they saying, we want a wife. They were saying every night, they were saying, we want a wife. Then I asked them, oh, what wife do you want? And they said, from now on, you are not supposed to sleep with your wife. Your wife is now our wife. And I said, it's fine. So now why I've written this confession, it's because that small stick that I saw that was on top of the money, it changed. And at first it was a very small snake. Then it changed. Every day that snake was growing. So I used that money to buy a house. We bought a very big house. And those small boys, they told me that you must have a room in your house where your wife is not supposed to enter. So I just put that Changani bag full of money into that room. So every time when I go into that room, that snake is growing. So the problem is that that snake, it says about 3 times a week, I have to go into that room and I have to do as if I'm having sex with a woman. So I'll be having sex with that snake. And when I wake up in the morning, when I look at my private parts, I can see that it was as if something was biting me on my private parts. And now the money, every time when I check into that Changani bag, sometimes I find that the money is no longer there. It's really going down. And the business I had started, I had bought 2 trucks. All of them, they had an accident and the insurance could not pay. And also I had started some few restaurants. All of them, they have gone down. Even people who know me, they are just surprised to see that this guy, he used to be flashy with all the big cars, but now he's just walking on foot. So my wife recently, she divorced me because she's starting to suspect that something is happening in this house, because sometimes at night, that snake, you can hear it moving in that room. So there was a night she said she wanted to open. Then I took out my gun and I said, if you open that room, I'm going to shoot you. That's when she said, I want a divorce. So I'm asking if there is anyone who is coming from maybe Mozambique or Zimbabwe, if they can help me to chase away this Tokoloshe, because I didn't know that this Tokoloshe was going to make me suffer a lot. This is my confession.